So as a Tony Hawk fan, it was a no-brainer I wanted to check this one out. But more or less because I really don't know a lot about his backstory. I kind of came on very tiered to the whole phenomenon of the video game era and whatnot. And obviously the X games, but I always was curious about his backstory. But this documentary totally helped me out. So without further ado, let's jump into the review of Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the film Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off, which made its world premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival and will be available on HBO Max come April 5th. Now, yes, I was a huge Tony Hawk fan for whatever it's worth, obviously because of the video games, but obviously because he was the coolest guy on the skateboard, period. And, he really revolutionized the sport. When he skated and when he was part of the X Games, it was must watch. When he did anything on television, it was must watch. I mean, he's legitimately an icon. And again, yet alone what he's done for the sport, what he's contributed to pop culture, period. And then now let's just be serious. Tony Hawk Underground is top 5 games, period. Like, it's not even a question. Underground 2, it's not even a question. But I had always wondered about his backstory, and I just never went out the way to go do so. But that's why I love documentaries, because documentaries step in and it will fill you in about all the things you may not have known. At least a good documentary, and this one was good, really, really good. It's about 2 hours long, and it just has so much. Starting off this documentary, before there's even any word said, any real Tony Hawk fan knows exactly what he's trying to execute here. And that's the 900, which is retired for now in air quotation marks. But, learning more about him as a kid, in terms with his siblings. And by the way, we're getting testimonies from his brothers and sisters, his skate friends, his families, some of the day one folks that have seen him, at one point become enemy number one to the most popular, most wealthy skateboarder of our generation. I'm not really sure, currently what's going on with him. And you know what? And what I would like to say, what Tony Hawk did for skateboarding is what Tiger Woods did for golfing to me. It's like, when these once in a lifetime type of athletes come about and how they just really bring in a new audience with them. That's what Tony Hawk was for me. Like, dude was so cool. He was really tall. Another thing, I mean, 6'3", but when you're younger, you're like, oh my God, he's so tall. But yeah, he's absolutely taller than majority of the skateboarders. And like, dude was just a mad scientist on the board. He literally has invented so many different tricks that, you just never knew what you was going to get from him. But yeah, starting off this where we see him going to visit his mom in a senior home, which is really touching. He's a stand-up guy, and just seeing him in that capacity with his mother, who is really, she needs the support of this senior home, and she's obviously in the later part of her years, and obviously this is before she passed, because this is also dedicated to both of his parents. It's just was a really special moment. And not to mention too, his mom had him when she was 43. So like, even though he had siblings, it was still like he was the only child, because everybody was like many years older than him, and I think that, that was cool to kind of hear his siblings kind of speak about that difference and like how they had different hobbies, but also they really just couldn't relate with him because they were just in totally two different generations and whatnot. And obviously, we get to talk about the first time he ever got on a skateboard and just how determined of a little boy he is. Like, everybody said it, like he was determined, and you even see that now, which is a big part of this for me, is that we see how determined he is to just always succeed and excel. And like the beginning of the documentary to the end of the documentary, it's nothing but testimony to that. So it's really cool to actually hear from other people and actually witnessing it, but actually understanding where did this all come from. And beyond that too, like I said, when he was in San Diego at the Oasis skate park, seeing the other kids, that's when he really decided to take this serious. But the journey, from the beginning of the journey, he was not at all liked because he came in, he had his own style, he had his own tricks, and he just didn't fit in, and everybody quickly was trying to make that known that like they did not like him around. But with that being said, hearing from his original crew that he started with, the Bone Bagard, but and like that, and then hearing from his original coach and just everything, these folks have seen him since day one. It was really dope to really see these people really express really raw thoughts about him all the way from the beginning. And then his dad being closely involved, who, of course his dad wasn't totally on board with him like skating. It wasn't the path he wanted. But once he seen him bringing in money, he's like, all right, I need to get involved. And his dad was actually one of the creators of the NSA, not the National Security Agency, but the National Skateboard Association, which when you think about it, it's like, oh, that's a cool thing. But also it's like kind of a conflict of interest because everybody started to think like he's getting favoritism because of his dad. And that also did not help him in terms of popularity. It's like if your parent was a teacher in the same school you taught at, it did not make you the cool kid. You know what I mean? And, we hear from his first challenger when he, I guess we could say in air quotation marks, went pro. And just with so much original stop home footage, I mean, it just brought all these stories and testimonies and interviews to life, which was really, really cool. And then the biggest thing, now this is where I started to kind of come aboard with Tony Hawk. Now, when they had those home videos, y'all remember the eras of the home VHSs, and they were out there freestyling and whatnot and doing tricks and all that cool stuff. I mean, it was some of the coolest things ever. And how not only did that grow the popularity of the sport, but it also grew the sales of VCRs, period, because everybody needed VCRs to get the tapes to watch these things, which, I wasn't old enough to be buying these things, but yeah, it makes sense. This all checks out to me, And like as I said, him just really being the catalyst to evolving the sport. And yes, he definitely pays homage to the folks that motivated him, the ones that he got ideas from and tips and all that other sorts of stuff. So like, he's a very humble dude, but like, let it be known, like he definitely was the main catalyst to making the sport of what it is. And constantly it was just him trying to prove that he belonged, because he was just constantly the outcast because of just his style and him always creating these tricks that people were just like, yeah, I'm not really digging that. You know how people are, the gatekeepers, where they're just like, that's not how we skate. We don't want that here, and he just continued to just keep breaking down barriers, and then once he got his big win, which is a really big part of the story, is when people really start to accept him and they really start to mess with his style. And then he started getting taller, he got more popular, he got the women, he really became a threat to the game. Like, this is where it started to really take off. But even with the success, he still talked about the emotional up and downs that he endured, which was really special. So yes, while he was a part of growing the sport, he still had his own mental challenges and whatnot, and acceptance was really a big thing. And while all this is happening, he's still around 17, so he's doing all these things, making six figures, buys his own house, and still having to go to school. It was even really cool to kind of see him and his dad, where they talked about building his first ramp at his house, which was really cool. And with that too, we should also discuss that, like, at this point, like, things were very much on the up and up for the sport. But the sport had ups and downs, which means his finances went ups and downs, which means his lifestyle went ups and downs. And that was really, really, I thought, a touching point of this documentary, where we really got to see him be really raw about the things he was feeling and whatnot. But he never gave up skating the entire time. And, well, there was two big tricks at the time. It was the 540. And then it was the McTwist. And the fact that, like, he started to come up with the 900, which was basically called the Holy Grail. It was just cool to see how many people were trying to attempt it. But, him, he's the one. And, when, of course, we had that marquee moment, which we'll get to in a second. But I think overall, it was cool. While all this was happening, we was kind of seeing his son in the background kind of growing up. And eventually, we got testimony or an interview from his son about, being the son of the legendary Tony Hawk, and what does that mean to him, and pretty much being very brutally honest about his relationship with his dad. We get to hear back from someone he at one point had disagreements with, who ultimately at one point they got respect for one another. So I thought that was a really big moment as well. And like I said, just how much he's changed the game, pop culture, and just becoming the face of skateboarding. You know, dude really is. And whether you watch skateboard or not, everybody knew about, and it also just came back out, but Tony Hawk Pro Skater Underground 2. Yes, everybody had this. Let it be known, folks. And you know, with all of this too, I guess the other thing with so much success as a fan, you never really know the challenges that he went through in life, which I thought was really deep for him to share in this. I thought it was really special. It really was touching. And just, you know, the points of life where he had to detach from skateboarding to ultimately become a better person all around, because skateboarding really made him sacrifice a lot of other elements in his life, especially the element to be able to, you know, to be able to be close to anybody. You know, it was really a very, like, I don't know, for me it hit the spots, him talking about these things. But and also, you know, with his family and whatnot, I thought, and his partner, I thought it was just really special, that moment that they had in this documentary. But as I said, the most iconic moment at the X game where everybody was watching on TV, which I'm not even going to give you the commentary that they were kind of giving around this moment, because it was like some moments I kind of like chuckled about it. But I think the big thing to remember is that he was so determined, and like seeing him zoom in on this and how focused he was, I thought was truly special. And like, it just made me appreciate the success just so much more. The reward of him doing this, it just really made me appreciate it so much more. But there's a lot of never seen before footage in this, and especially new interviews with Tony Hawk. So like, all around, this is just a flat out dope documentary. Like, come on now, you all gotta check this out. It's literally a no-brainer if you're a Tony Hawk fan. I gotta be honest, like, it was really just one of those type of things where I'm just kind of feeling emotional, that like it's always special when you put somebody up to a higher level, a higher regard. And you know, when you do that because of what they've done for you, but you now start to understand like what they've been through and how much they meant to the world and society, and you still have an opportunity to give them their flowers, I thought it's just a really special thing. And from all the money he made from the video games, all the video games that we played, even the new remastered Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and my favorite Tony Hawk Underground, it's just so special. And I think it's funny that folks, you know, come up to him nowadays and be like, hey, aren't you Tony Hawk? And it really do be him and whatnot. Or they say, hey, you look like Tony Hawk, and it really do be him, and how he kind of goes with it. He's such a humble guy, and I think all of the success that he had in the world, it's well deserved. So this documentary for me told me a lot about his backstory that I didn't know, but ultimately just completely elevated my appreciation for the guy. He is fantastic, and man, this is one you want to check out. But again, this is Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off. Totally go out the way and check it out. Jump in the comments when you do, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.